Welcome to my thoughts on Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 15, North, named after one of the worst movies I've ever watched, presumably. And the episode is rated TVMA, so this video there will be spoilers for everything live-action Walking Dead up to and including this episode, but not for anything that came out after this episode first premiered. Another episode that I absolutely loved. So I guess I will briefly note this will be the last episode of at least Fear that I'm slightly considering maybe fairly soon doing the first episode of season 7 of the main show, because Arts Cafe, years long friend, subscriber, and excellent recommender of stuff to cover on this channel, said that it would be fine to watch just that one and then take a break for the rest before finishing the rest of the season. So I might do that, but it will be the last. It'll be months before I do another episode of Fear the Walking Dead. I'm really looking forward to more. I'm very optimistic for season 3, and some really compelling status quo changes by the end of this episode compared to earlier in the season that I'm looking forward to seeing play out. And I suppose that pretty much is all the preamble. So I'm going to try to keep this chronological. We'll see how it goes. So the I really appreciate it that we do, I think it's immediately, or at least very, very early, get into the immediate aftermath of the explosive climax of the penultimate episode of season 2. And once again, they're not like in a hurry about it. It is allowed to land, and we are forced to sit with it, because not only, like, it's one thing that Travis killed these two, because, like, hypothetically, I mean, with significant explanation, obviously, Elena, Hector, and the others could be, like, they could understand, at least, even if not approve, and maybe they might not have attacked. Well, yeah, I think there's a really good chance they would not have attacked the yeah, as they do during the night. But he also did kill yeah. So the yeah, that yeah, and like I mentioned in an earlier, no, I theorized in an earlier video. I swear by then I hadn't watched this. Yeah, indeed, they, like Madison, set the rule, no violence in this community, and now they have to run because of breaking their own rule. And I thought it worked really well that until they attack during the night, every so often the episode will cut to the yeah, him there on the table being cut open by people who cared about him when he was alive, and having to make sure that he doesn't come back a walker. And I think that is what brings us to the so yeah, the conversation between, where yeah, it is I'm afraid I forget. Let's see. It's no, yeah, I do not quite recall his name, but the doctor at the Colonia, he agrees to talk to the people again, and manages to, by the end of this episode, they do not know that he was not immune. And yeah, great bit of tension. Like, I kept expecting the scene to include, maybe culminate in him collapsing and then turning and thus destroying all of this, but thankfully they did give him, he was allowed to redeem himself for this lie. And I appreciate, well, let's see, what did they say? He didn't come up with it, but he let them believe it. That is still a lie. And yeah, I I also really appreciated the way that the family takes Travis's, trying to fix all this. The thing about, you know, telling them that, yeah, yeah, and the conversation with Strand was really compelling. And, not the first time that he is the reality check. It's not that the other characters, like, don't understand things, but he is, like, uh, realistic to the point of being pragmatic to a fault. And, yeah, points out, they're not just gonna keep him in there, they're going to exile him. And Maddie decides, well, in that case, we're going with. And I don't think the fact that Travis didn't ask for that is just going to be forgotten in the next season. I think there is going to be, like, because, they do have the conversation later about, I know you have now killed, so have I. You became this because the world changed. I was already like this, Mama Bear. And that addresses part of it, sure, but I'm not 100% certain that that's the entire thing. Because he did already tell her what he did, before he, you know, yeah, when he had another secret. And at that point, he said that he wished he had never told anyone that. So that is, I think, I don't know that he's going to end up in as bad a place as Chris, but it feels like he's headed in the same basic direction, at least. I don't know that he's going to continue being, you know, yeah, wanting people around him. And I suppose that does cover that bit of it. I quite liked, Nick talking to the, yeah, and, telling the leader, you still have a chance to be a great man. Let your people go. And I love that that was off screen because, like, genuinely, when the gang came in, I was sitting there thinking, did he? And did they have time to leave, or are they just, you know, easily, yeah. I feel like there was at least one more thing around here. Um, maybe it was the. I think I'll just briefly talk about. So yeah, the gang attacks, and very clever. The leader hid. Like, it wouldn't make sense for him to walk with the rest of them for, both, like, he would not be able to get very far before turning, and another thing is then they would see that he wasn't immune. And yeah, so he was hiding, and they just walk right in, and they're not careful enough to check because they're arrogant. And so they, like a lot of successful criminals are. I mean, you could just look at, you know, CEOs. Oh, wait, right. No, they're technically not criminals because what they're doing is deeply unethical, but not technically illegal, at least not while Republicans are in charge. I forgot. And yeah, very, very clever. The thing about, because, like, we've known about the bus being like the one thing keeping the walkers from just walking in. We've known that for multiple episodes now. To have him just get in and drive away, and it's like, I mean, yeah, if let's say, I guess I feel like I've heard that it depends on how long the car is just standing there, but like, there might not have been gasoline in it until very recently. They might have kept that in those gas cans and just, yeah, pour it in, because it doesn't even need very much. He doesn't drive terribly far in it. And at that point, yeah, it's just like, as long as the parts didn't corrode over, however long it's been standing there, yeah, it should be good. And yeah, the fact that they hear it, they hear the engine, and they rush back, and by then it's much too late. And in the behind the scenes, they talk about how they used special effects to make it look like there was quite that many walkers. There was not on set, I mean. And let's see, I think the yeah, I think I'll briefly finish up the actually, no, never mind. I'll talk about, so yeah, the when the attack comes at night, I love the character moment. Like, as usual, these shows do so well with characters. You have the bit about not here, don't let them see. He doesn't say don't do this. He knows what they're there for. They're not there to say, you know what, I'm glad you're leaving. No, it's more than that, obviously. He doesn't say, I had no choice. He doesn't make any excuses. He just doesn't want them to have to see. And I mean, in retrospect, I think it probably would have been smart for them to take his advice, but you live, you learn. And yeah, just incredibly tense. It's one of those things where, this is the thing shows in general can do, where 2 episodes in a row will have somewhat similar scenes, because like, what happened, what Travis did, rather, I'm not going to use passive voice here, what Travis did at the end of the episode before this one led directly to, like, there is a very clear line between these two sequences. And the thing is, we've basically just been sitting and waiting for it, especially with, as mentioned, the cutting to the cutting of the corpse, so yeah, it's that Greek tragedy thing where we know, it's going to go wrong, and we know at least some details of how it's going to end up, and we're just powerless sitting there waiting for it to happen. And again, they don't just let this scene, it's not over immediately. And yeah, just really, really tense. And God, the part where, the gun ends up on the floor, and there's like, oh, who's gonna get it? And thankfully Strand helps them out of there. And there is, of course, this issue that if they are going to get into that car and leave, I'm just saying, technically that car, there's a one human being killed minimum for every passenger, and Alicia's like, I got this. Seriously though, really, really dramatic, the fantastic acting, and it's this thing of like, what else could she have done? She's just gonna let them kill Travis. This is not, but yeah. That is another thing, by the end of this episode, she hasn't really processed that. I'm thinking over the course of the next season, they're going to have her have to deal with that. And that's a much more compelling, there's again a situation where hypothetically they could have maybe killed her off or something, but we already have enough drama with, you know, I do think it's going to be difficult for Maddie the way that I agree, I accept that she has accepted who Travis is now. I don't think that's the full extent of what is, yeah. And I think that does bring us nicely to and the fact that Strand won't go with, and he even hands them the gun, so he is defenseless, because it's like, they're not going to forget what he did there, but yeah, it's and that's also deeply compelling that he did fight for that, after saying that he thought this whole thing was a bad idea. He does still fight for them. Yeah, I guess that does bring us, let's see, I feel like there's at least one more thing, but I cannot quite. Yeah, and so they go to the um the warehouse, and which, we understand how they can find their way, because to Madison, it's their house. She's been there before. And let's see, and she goes to find the information about where to go. And, Alicia just standing there shocked, like, Mom, what are you doing? Now she's got amnesia? And yeah, I guess that does lead us nicely to we see the group from the Colonia walking towards the border, because he saw Chopper. And just going to point out that I would be very careful. We see Lucy kiss one of the, yeah, she kisses the girl. And I appreciate, it's important to keep her, try to protect her as much as possible from the potential trauma here. Be careful about kissing someone else on the face when there's like zombie guts there, I feel like. Anyway, and they do get to the border, and then they're fired upon. And that's the thing, because they look like a gang, at least a bunch of them do. They have guns, and just, yeah, god damn it. And I'm genuinely not entirely sure, because, like, obviously they're going to be able to tell, even without, like, ID or whatever. Clearly Nick, I feel like he's not going to have that difficult of a time convincing them that he is an American. But I don't know about the rest, and I have no idea what's going to happen to, yeah. But that was really compelling, and also really appreciated. We see the fucked up attitude of, that one of them calls out, "We got a bleeder!" Like, Jesus Christ. Like he thinks it's a fucking video game or something. And yeah, I mean, that is a very sadly accurate, let's see, I forget, are ICE also at the border, or ICE explicitly in, like, going around to people's homes? I mean, not when this episode first premiered, but today. But yeah, it definitely, they felt like ICE to me. And I guess that does pretty much, yeah, I think that does just leave us with that last bit in the, yeah, they go to the Colonia, and indeed, there were too many of them, Sid. The gang is dead, or walking dead. And if there's a zombie spy on this show, I hope they introduce themselves like that. And prefer their brain juice stirred, not shaken. Shit, shaken, not stirred. God damn it. Whatever. If we could just mentally, correct that. Just pretend like I got it right. Uh, Protect me from reality. Imagine that I'm a conservative Christian. Anyway, I think that does bring us very nicely to the yeah. Um, and so they don't really find out the significance of the Doctor, but he knows Nick, they know Nick, and he's able to, before he passes and they make sure he doesn't turn, he sings, "Believe me, Nick is still alive. He's at the border and he is still alive. Still alive."